Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play the entirety of this video without any interruptions, and then I'll go back and talk about things to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. Without further ado, here we go.
Hello, I'm Sergeant Phil Krinsky with the Phoenix Police Department Public Affairs Bureau. The information, audio, video, and pictures you're about to see are intended to provide details as we currently understand them of an officer-involved shooting that occurred on January 22nd, 2022, just before 5 a.m. This video may contain strong language as well as graphic images, which could be disturbing to some people. Viewer discretion is advised. This incident occurred in the area of 24th Street and Indian School Road when an officer saw a vehicle speeding and committing other traffic violations. The officer briefly lost sight of the car, but then saw it again as it pulled into the driveway of a home near 22nd Street and Fairmount. The officer noticed the lights of the vehicle went off, and no one got out of the car. The officer walked up to the car and noticed a person lying on the back seat. That person was later identified as 37-year-old Dedrick Garcia. The officer tried to get his attention by knocking on the window, but Garcia did not respond. Other officers arrived and continued to try to get his attention. The officers attempted to open the doors, but they were locked.
I picked him up on 24th. Yeah, and then couldn't see in.
And then he hopped into the back.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got a DUI conviction.
Okay. No.
As they continued to try to get Garcia to respond, they saw a handgun in the car, wedged in between the center console and the front passenger seat.
He's also got a gun right there. Can you see that? Yeah, he's got a gun right here.
Officers talked to the homeowners, who said they did not recognize the car. The homeowner confirmed to officers that they did not want the man on their property.
No, honey,
Yeah?
in the middle of the night, is it 2 o'clock in the morning?
You don't know anyone that drives a...
No.
Audi?
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
But I'm sure you don't want our stranger just sitting in your driveway.
No.
During the next hour, officers made attempts to communicate with Garcia, including making announcements in English and Spanish on a loudspeaker, asking him to come out of the vehicle.
Dedrick Garcia, Phoenix Police Department, you are trespassing on private property. You are not allowed to be here, and you are under arrest if you do not exit the vehicle. You need to come out with your hands up, nothing in your hands. We know you have a firearm in the car. Come out with your hands up. Dedrick Garcia, Phoenix Police Department, you need to come out with your hands up. We're going to break the window, shoot pepper balls in there, and you run the risk of being shot with a 40mm Nerf gun. You need to come out with your hands up, nothing in them. Wake up. Dedrick, el Departamento de Policía de Phoenix, levántate y sal del automóvil con tus manos arriba, sin armas. Estás en una propiedad que no es tuya, estás cometiendo un crimen. La policía, sal del vehículo.
Officers tried for nearly an hour to get Garcia to respond. Eventually, they decided to approach the car and break a window in order to shoot pepper balls into the car to encourage Garcia to come out.
We're going to give him several more announcements through the PA. Explain to him we're going to breach your windows and we're going to introduce pepper, and he's going to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then explain to him we also have a dog out here that we can deploy. We're going to bark.
Okay, perfect.
If we don't get any compliance, we're going to break and rake the passenger with the rear passenger window.
Okay.
And then we're going to deploy pepper.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Before moving forward to break the window, the officers told Garcia several times what they were planning to do.
Dedrick Garcia, this is the Phoenix Police Department. You need to come out of the vehicle with your hands up and nothing in them. You are under arrest. You are trespassing on private property. We know you have a firearm in the car. Come out with your hands up and nothing in them. We're going to break your vehicle window and introduce pepper balls into your vehicle. It'll get really uncomfortable for you. You do not want to do this. I want you to come out with your hands up and nothing in them. You are under arrest.
The pepper ball launcher is a non-lethal compressed air delivery system, similar to a paintball gun. It uses non-lethal projectiles which contain capsicum powder. On impact, the projectiles burst and release the powder, which cause a similar effect to someone who was sprayed with pepper spray.
Drop it! Get on the ground!
Prior to the team moving forward, an officer to the side was designated as the less lethal operator to deploy the pepper balls. Officers to the front were provided lethal coverage due to the gun in the front seat. The team moved forward, broke the window, and moved back. Officers to the front of the vehicle saw Garcia sit up, reach forward, grab and manipulate the gun, and begin to turn towards the direction of the team that had just broken the window. On the body-worn camera, after the window was broken, you can hear an officer say he grabbed the gun, he's moving forward.
He grabs the gun, move forward.
As the officer deployed pepper balls, 2 officers responded to Garcia grabbing the gun and turning towards the officers by discharging their firearms. Body-worn cameras are used by all officers assigned to patrol and several specialty units. Per policy, they are worn at mid-torso level and capture the view of the line of sight from that perspective. It's important to note that the camera lens is fixed and does not capture everything seen or experienced by the officer. When activated, both audio and video turn on. The body-worn camera has a buffer of video without audio for the 30 seconds prior to activation. This feature is designed to capture incidents that happen suddenly where an officer doesn't immediately activate the camera. The Phoenix Police Department does not currently use in-car camera systems. Here's the body-worn camera video of the officer who deployed pepper balls and the 2 officers who discharged their firearms. The views are partially obstructed due to the position of the officers behind the vehicle.
Pepper ball. Looks like he might be moving.
Dedrick Garcia, this is the Phoenix Police Department. I need you to come out of the vehicle with your hands up and nothing in them. You are under arrest. If you do not comply with us, we are going to break your vehicle window and shoot pepper balls into your vehicle.
He grabs his gun, moves forward. He grabs his gun, moves forward.
After the shooting, Garcia again was lying on the back seat. The officers were no longer able to see the gun and could not tell if Garcia was injured or if he was continuing not to respond like he had for the first hour.
I cannot.
Not right now.
Officers use additional less lethal 40mm rounds to break another window, hoping to get a better look at Garcia. They also deployed additional pepper balls in an attempt to have Garcia exit.
Pepper ball, stand by.
Officers made announcements to ask him to come out of the car or to yell if he needed aid. He did not respond.
You need to crawl out of the vehicle, open the door, show us that you do not have anything in your hands. You can hear our voices. Yell out to us. Raise your hand, show us that you have nothing in them. Open the car door, anything that will show us that you are not a threat. Dedrick, this is the Phoenix Police Department. We want to provide aid to you. I need you to show us that you're not a threat. You need to raise your hands with nothing in them. Open the car door, call out to us, or yell at us. You're able to hear us.
Just so you know, we're here to help you, dude. If you can call out, groan, mumble, move, raise your hand, just let us know so we can get you the medical attention you need.
Officers from the Special Assignments Unit responded and continued to try to get Garcia out of the vehicle.
Again, if you can hear me, dude, just raise your hand. Let us know that you want our help.
They continue making announcements through a loudspeaker. Just after 6 a.m., 2 less lethal Arwin rounds were fired at Garcia to determine if he was responsive or not.
No movement.
An Arwin is a 37mm less lethal munition. The Arwin has a 5-round drum magazine and is operated by members of the Special Assignments Unit. Garcia did not respond to the Arwin. At that time, officers approached the car and opened the door. Garcia was lying on the back seat. The handgun that was originally near the front seat was now located on the back seat floorboard near Garcia's hand. Officers removed the handgun from the car. Garcia was pronounced deceased on scene by the Phoenix Fire Department. There were 2 officers involved in the shooting. One is from the Mountain View Precinct and has 3 years with the Phoenix Police Department. The other is assigned to the Tactical Support Bureau and has been with the department for 4 years. This incident is subject of both an internal and criminal investigation, which will be reviewed by the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. Conclusions about whether the actions of the officers are consistent with department policy and the law will not be made until all facts are known and the investigation is complete.
This video was intended to inform and educate the public about
All right. So this was a pretty decent video. Let me hit that first part of the video.
Hello.
I didn't catch what was said before they said that the officer noticed he pulled in the driveway and didn't get out.
I'm Sergeant Phil Krinsky with the Phoenix Police Department Public at 5 a.m. This video may contain strong language. Saw a vehicle speeding and committing other traffic violations. The officer briefly lost sight of the car, but then saw it again as it pulled into the driveway of a home near 22nd Street and Fairmount. The officer noticed the lights of the vehicle went off, and no one got out of the car.
Okay, so that's actually kind of common with some people who are committing traffic infractions, and especially if they're, wanted for something or they're under the influence of something, whatever. Lots of people up to no good. Once they notice the police, they will try to pull into people's driveways and park and turn all the lights off, or they'll try and speed away and pull in somewhere and turn their lights off really quick, thinking that the police will just not notice it and drive on by. And for some people, that tactic actually works. They were speeding and they passed the cop going the other direction. They saw their brake lights come on, knowing that they're going to turn around and come after them, so they speeded up even more, make a fast turn onto a street, and then cut it into someone's driveway super fast and throw the lights off. And some of them may sit in that car in the driveway and wait until they see headlights go by, or they might just throw it and park, turn the car off, get out and run and jump a fence and kind of stay nearby until they see the police leave. So this is actually a pretty common thing that a lot of people do. When they're out on scene here and the other people come up, you hear one of them say that this guy has prior, I want to say I think it's DUI, but I think they termed it DWI.
Other officers arrived and continued to try to get his attention. The officers attempted to open the doors, but they were locked.
I picked him up on 24th. Yeah, and then couldn't see in.
And then he hopped into the back?
Yeah.
Oh, he's got a DUI conviction.
Yeah, so he said, okay, so he did say DUI conviction. So this guy has been previously convicted of driving under the influence. Although they didn't provide any toxicology information from his autopsy, I would say there's probably a pretty good chance this guy was most likely under the influence. And the reason why he did what he did right here was to escape another DUI conviction. And in most states, there are stiff penalties for being convicted of driving under the influence. Usually that first offense isn't too drastic. You do lose your license for a certain amount of time. You pay fines and whatnot. That second offense, that's when things hit, and that can even include maybe a little bit of jail time, longer than normal. And some places, once you get to that third, fourth DUI conviction, that's felony conviction at that point. So I would say that most likely, since he's already got one DUI conviction, he's probably under the influence right now and is trying to avoid getting another conviction. That's something that DUI offenders will do, is they'll try and jump out of the driver's seat and pretend like they weren't driving. They'll jump in that passenger seat, or they'll jump in that back seat or something like that. And I'm like, oh, no, I wasn't driving. My buddy was driving. And when they ask where the buddy's at, there's no good answer for where the buddy's at. It's a pretty common thing. So I would say that he's probably just playing possum at this point. I highly, seriously doubt that when you watch the video footage of him pulling in the driveway and then the officer pulling up and getting out, I highly seriously doubt that in the time that he jumped out of that back seat, which would have, required some physical exertion, and then plus him already being somewhat panicked about the officer being there, I highly seriously doubt that as soon as he laid down that back seat, he passed out. I would say that there's pretty good chance this dude's still awake in the back seat. He's just playing possum, hoping that they will just go away, that they'll get tired of trying to get him to come open the door, and that they won't have any investigative leads to go off of, and they'll just leave. Obviously, that tactic does not work, and they don't leave. They stay there. They talk to the homeowners and confirm that he has no business being there on property. They don't know who he is, and they don't want him there. I would not want them there or him there either. The video footage cuts forward, so we're at the 3:44 mark, and then talking to them. Well, her face is blurring that out. So that's, what did I say this was? So 3:44, so about a minute goes by, they go up there to talk. And 3:46, then boom, the vehicle's right here. So now it is 4:10. So that was a significant jump in time. And during that jump in time, they were able to pull a vehicle forward, have this vehicle here, and this vehicle right behind him, basically boxing him in, essentially. You can also see in another shot, I forget, maybe it's right there. It looks as though they have put stop sticks around his tire. That way, if he did decide to try and pull away, he would go over the stop sticks and puncture his tires. That's a pretty good tactic. I like that, especially, when it comes to situations like this where you got someone in the car stopped, and they're not getting out, or even when it is like a legit person who's drunk and passed out behind the wheel. That's happened many times. People will be sitting there at a red light and they pass out. That tactic of go ahead and sliding those stop sticks under the wheels, that way if they do decide to take off, well, they're going to have a hard time controlling that vehicle very well with flat tires. So that looks like what they did there is put stop sticks under the tires. Now, at what point they did that, I don't really know. I would suspect that it was likely whenever they positioned these cars in the way to box him in. but I can't say that for sure because, you know, you don't really see it very well in these other shots right here. They spend a lot of time talking to this dude on the PA, and so here now we are at, well, I went way too far forward. So 413 mark, they're right there. They continue talking to this guy up to the 440 mark. That's 441. They spend a lot of time talking to this guy. They really do. A part of me thinks they spent way too much time talking to this guy. I think that they should have just taken action a lot sooner. But they finally decide to do something, take some kind of action, and their plan is to break the back window out, and then a person can fire pepper balls into the car. I like that option. I think that's a pretty good option. They had mentioned that later they plan to use a 40 millimeter or 37 millimeter round to break the other window out to get a better view. Personally, I think that should have been the option to start with, to begin with, to avoid getting anyone close to the vehicle, since he did have that gun in there. Breach a window with a 40 millimeter, and then just start launching pepper balls in through that opening in the window. So pepper balls, for people who don't know what that is, it's the pepper ball gun is basically a paintball gun, and those pepper balls are essentially just like paintballs are. Some of the same diameter and some of the same kind of characteristics of, you know, the little plastic cups pushed together with contents inside of it, except they're a lot harder. You know, you can take a paintball round and squish it pretty well. A freaking pepper ball round is hard. It's almost like a marble. But inside of it is pepper spray in the form of powder. And typically these are used in correctional type settings, and you can shoot the ceiling with them, and when the pepper balls hit the ceiling, they'll burst, and then the powder will rain down on people. So you can shoot it from a distance, shoot the ceiling, shoot the walls around people, and the balls will burst, and the powder will go everywhere, and they'll start inhaling it and start feeling those effects. You can also, so that's indirect fire. You can also use it in a direct fire mode where you actually hit the people with it, and so you get the sort of an impact munition out of it. It's painful. I mean, if you've ever been shot with just a regular paintball gun, you understand how much that sucks. The pepper balls are harder, and so they hurt a little bit more. So you get that pain compliance out of it, and you're also contaminating them with the oleoresin capsicum powder, and they start to have the involuntary eye closures, and start having that sensation of difficulty breathing as it inflames the alveoli of the lungs. So I like the tactic of breaching the window and just filling that car with pepper balls. I think that's a pretty good option. They do that, and as soon as they do that,
move forward.
He grabs his gun out of the front seat, and then he gets it, manipulates it, and he starts turning towards the other officers. And that's when they decide to use deadly physical force against this guy. They use the deadly physical force in the protection of the other officers, because this guy could very easily turn around and shoot at them. It doesn't appear as though this dude knew exactly that these officers were where they were at. You can kind of see over here through this gap right there, the spotlight on the car is pointed down. So I think that's providing enough light that's kind of blinding this guy. And you don't see these two guys here. And so I think that's why he's turning towards those other officers, because he knows that's where they're at from where they broke the window at. But they use deadly physical force to protect those other officers from getting shot, because they're still forward near that vehicle. So a pistol and a shotgun is utilized. Now, what rounds he was pumping through that shotgun, I don't know. He could have been using buck or he could have been using slug. I'm not really sure. They don't specify what he was using. I just know it's a shotgun.
Hey, driver's got move forward.
After the shooting, Garcia again was lying on the back seat. The officers were no longer able to see the gun and could not tell if Garcia was in.
Personally, I think an actual carbine would have been better suited for shooting through the windshield. I'm just more of a fan of a carbine for most applications, and I just think a carbine would have been a better choice for this. And the other officer also having a carbine instead of just a pistol. But obviously, what they did worked. So after they shoot him, this guy doesn't move anymore. But they can't just blindly approach the vehicle because now they've lost most visual of this guy. And, you know, you come up and do a peekaboo, he could very easily shoot you in the face. So there's another period of time. So we see at 4:42 after the shooting. So there's another period of time in which they wait as they call out to the vehicle, trying to get him to come out. And then it isn't until 6:02 mark that we have this specialized vehicle here. So this dude is in this car for a very long period of time, not responding to them. And again, before he was ever shot or shot at, he wasn't responding to them either. So they did wait. They did wait a pretty long time. And if this dude had any survivable wounds, then the amount of time that they waited, that's a possibility of how he ended up dying, is the waiting game. And sucks for him, but he brought this upon himself. So no one to blame there except for him. But they do wait a long period of time, trying to get him to come out before they put any of themselves at risk of going in there. There was a shot. I'll let it play.
So we can get you the medical attention you need.
Get Garcia out. Just after 6 a.m., 2 less lethal Arwin rounds were fired at Garcia to determine if he was responsive or not.
No movement.
The munition. The car originally near the front. Remove the handgun from the car.
It wasn't this one.
Him to come out of the car.
All right, here it is. So you can see a light up here on the roof of the house. So it appears as though one of the officers, or two of the officers maybe, have gone to the rear of the house. And, I mean, I would assume that they've used a ladder at this point to get up there. But one of them has gotten on the roof of the house and is utilizing the height of the house to be able to look down into the vehicle. And that's
or to yell
cool.
if he needed
like
aid.
I think that's
he did not respond.
A really good thinking outside the box kind of tactic. So you can see that light pop off. And then I think you'll see it come back on here in a second.
You can hear our voices. Yell out to us. Raise your hand, show us that you have nothing in them. Open the car door, anything that will show us that you are not a threat.
Yeah, so you see it pop on again. So I like that. I think that's a really cool outside the box kind of tactic. You know, another piece of equipment or something that could be useful in scenarios like this, or just for using it for other things, is a mirror on a stick. You know, they could have approached the vehicle behind a shield and then extend the mirror forward and tilt it and be able to see inside the car and see what this guy was doing. So that's a possibility, but utilizing, you know, your environment to your advantage, that's a pretty good idea. Another thing that one of them could have done is if they had the ladder to get on top of the roof of the house, you know, they could have done something to maybe crawl on top of one of the SUVs here and be able to peer down inside the vehicle and get a good angle in there and see what this guy was doing. But they've got their armored vehicle here.
No movement.
I would say it's a variant of some
Were
sort
fired
of
at Garcia.
like a Bearcat. I mean, you can see it looks like a big armored vehicle right here.
And if you can hear me, dude, just
Loudspeaker to determine if he was responsive or not.
No movement.
In our
So using a less lethal launcher to hit him to see how he reacts to that is also another really good tactic to see if this guy's playing possum or not. These things freaking hurt when they hit, and there's going to be a reaction of some sort out of someone when they are shot by surprise by one of these devices. Like if this dude was playing possum and they popped him with this, like there's no laying completely still and pretending like nothing ever happened. Like if he was alive, he would have moved and they would have known right then and there that he was faking it. This launcher style, I'm more of a fan of these styles for shooting impact munitions. The 40 millimeter tube launcher, that's just a single shot, that one kind of seems to be the more popular one, and it's a cost issue because those are cheaper than devices like this, but it's obviously has a better advantage because you're able to fire multiple rounds quickly, whereas the single tube, it's really a slow process to fire, reload, and fire again. This one, you can pump off a few rounds very quickly and get more rounds on target faster than you could with just the single shot tube. So I like these things, but administrators of agencies don't like paying for them because they cost a lot more money than just the single tubes.
Arwen is a 37 millimeter less lethal munition. The Arwen has a 5-round drum magazine and is operated by members of the Special Assignments Unit. Located on the backseat floorboard.
Picture of the real gun that he had. All right, so that's pretty much it. We don't see what kind of medical aid they end up rendering to this guy, but obviously fire department personnel are there to assess the guy and determine that he's non-viable. He's already deceased. Not much else to say about this video. This was a pretty good video presentation in my opinion. I think they went above and beyond handling the situation, taking as much time as they did. If I had anything negative to say, I'd say it was probably taking as long as they did to finally do something. I've talked about before how I think that too much talking can actually lead to escalation of things. And at a certain point, once you figure out the talking isn't working, then you need to take it to the next step. Because a lot of times the talking too much stuff allows the other person to feel more in control, and then they can escalate the situation on their terms. Whereas if you talk for a certain amount of time, you exhaust your efforts in talking, and then you initiate action on your terms. Now they're having to react to you versus them being in charge, doing something, and then you having to react to that. It's always better when you're able to initiate action versus having to react to the action. Other than that, I mean, everything else was done great. I mean, if anybody is going to complain about what they did during this incident, as far as, shooting him and tactics and stuff like that, then they're just anti-police, and they just want to complain anyway because they hate the police. Again, like I said, they went above and beyond doing what they did, and there's really nothing much else to say about this video. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.